Well, we can speak now to Shaina Low of the Norwegian Refugee Council. Ms. Low, thanks so much for joining us and giving us your time. All aid stopped once again from entering Gaza. Can you tell us, what that exactly means for the people there? Hearing from some of them, the exorbitant prices rising already at the markets.
Well, it's going to be catastrophic for Palestinians in Gaza. We know that despite the fact that there was an increase of aid entering since the start of the ceasefire on January 19th, it's nowhere near enough to meet the tremendous needs after more than 15 months of bombardment and the destruction of most of Gaza's housing and a significant portion of its infrastructure. We know that hospitals will start to shut down, that there will be fuel shortages. We know that people will go hungry. We know that people will go without medical treatment, without food, without clean water. This is going to be devastating.
Can you give us an idea of where people have been left with? It's 6 weeks now since we had that truce fire come into effect. We saw people walk back to basically cities of rubble, Can you give us an idea of what the actual situation is today?
Yes, hundreds of thousands of people who were displaced from northern Gaza, from the cities in North Gaza Governorate and Gaza City, had fled to the south during the hostilities, and hundreds of thousands of them returned home to find rubble where their homes once stood. And so many people, despite the fact that the UN and partners of the UN have distributed 100,000 tents, it's nowhere near enough to meet the housing crisis. It's still winter here in the Middle East. We've seen in the last several weeks around 6 babies who have died due to exposure and hypothermia. A lack of aid is going to perpetuate this suffering when people have so little and are basically starting from scratch.
Indeed, as you say, the buildings have been destroyed, so have the businesses, the schools. How do people pick up? What can they do in today's day?
People are just trying to get their basic needs from aid agencies, from their neighbors. This is food, shelter materials, trying to get medicine and really their basic needs. No one is at the point of thinking about reconstruction at this point. They're still in an emergency mode.
Indeed, so much reconstruction that needs to be done, because as well as not having the supplies, even clean water is lacking, if I understand correctly, in the region.
It's very difficult. The water in Gaza is largely contaminated, either with sewage or with salt water. And so desalination plants need to be running. We at the Norwegian Refugee Council have been providing daily clean drinking water to tens of thousands of displaced Palestinians or returnees over the last several months. But we know that if fuel is not entering Gaza, that we're not going to be able to provide that.
When was Go ahead.
Sorry. And really it's incumbent. I would be remiss in not mentioning that, of course, this isn't charity. This is a right that the Palestinian people are entitled to receive humanitarian assistance. And Israel is the occupying power that's occupied Gaza since 1967. It's clear in the Geneva Accords that Israel has a responsibility to provide for the basic necessities, and if they are unwilling or unable to do so, they must facilitate humanitarian access. This is a blatant violation of international law. It's a war crime to prevent essential life-saving humanitarian assistance from reaching innocent civilians.
Indeed, so much basic, vital, urgent necessities that are needed, and that's even before we think of the psychological impact on all of those people and the children who still, don't have school to go to, don't have any form of structure.
Absolutely. The entire population of the Gaza Strip is traumatized, and half of the population are children. We have been running alternative learning spaces for children where we do psychosocial activities to work to help with the trauma. But after 15 months, these exercises are simply not enough. We need to have an end to the conflict. We need to have a permanent truce. We need to work towards a permanent political solution so that people can really begin the process of recovery and rebuilding.
Shaina Low, we'll have to leave it there. But thanks so much for joining us, Shaina Low, there of the Norwegian Refugee Council, bringing us up to date on that situation in Gaza, where all aid has now once again been cut off from that strip. Very vital basic necessities that are desperately needed.